Thank you. Some new faces. Oh, nice. Just before the meditation, maybe. Welcome, everybody. Some new faces. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Oh, this is exciting. Okay. Well, there's new faces. We have to do it again. So, we're going to go around the room, say our names, and last time it was favorite animal. This time, any ideas?
Favorite flower.
Favorite flower. Awesome. Okay. I started doing this favorite thing because at first I was doing like, how you found 3 jewels, and that was fine when there was 5 people. Sometimes not so when it was 5 people, because sometimes some of us like to any opportunity for a speech, right? But so I'm one of them. So favorite flower. Okay. Yes. Well, my name is John. Hello, everybody. And my favorite flower is a sunflower. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen fields of those in California. It's pretty hard to forget.
I'm Nishi. Right now, I really like peonies, I think they're called. Big. Yeah. That's it.
I'm Joyce, and I like lilacs.
Lilacs.
I'm Laura, and what was I gonna say? What was my flower gonna be?
The pressure's intense.
Yeah. Orchids.
Orchid. Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My name is Basha, and I have many flowers I love. But I have to agree, peonies. It's the season for peonies right now. I almost bought a bunch today, but peonies. Basha.
My name is Susan, and I love lilacs because they were one of the few things that would grow where I grew up.
Nice.
My name's Andrew.
Oh. Sorry.
My name's Andrew.
Hi.
And my favorite flower is a lotus.
Hi, I'm Roma, and today, I have a lot of favorite flowers, but today it will be tiger lilies.
Tiger lilies.
I'm Miranda, and my favorite flower is a
Lily.
My name's Dave, and I don't really know a lot of flowers. You know what's the ones that bud? No, I'm just kidding. I like orchids as well.
Orchids, nice.
Who, me?
Yeah,
Sarah.
Sarah.
I'm Sarah. My favorite flower is a yellow gerbera. Daisy. Yeah.
Is that Latin? Did you just give us Latin?
No.
Oh.
Gerbera.
Hello, my name's Mark. I love roses.
Roses.
My name's Marge, and I'm going to say right now I love plumerias.
Nice.
Christine Gerbers.
Now we're down to Joni. Joni, go. Joni.
I'm Joni, and I kind of love whatever's in bloom, whatever's in season, but my most favorite flower is tulips because they remind me of the spring.
He's a mind reader.
Okay, my name is Tibor, and I'm still going to go with the tulip.
All right.
I'm Sevi, and I have two favorite flowers. One are snowdrops, because it takes me back home. They look so humble. And other ones are carnations. The ones that have smell, actually.
Nice. All right, now we all know everybody's names. So this is very exciting. These 10 weeks, and if you know anybody that would benefit from what we're doing, there'll be a nice option to drop in at any time and do catch up on the previous meditations, because they do build on each other as we go through the week. So there's always the option of getting the previous meditations to catch up to a class, or not. Just simply come. That's also okay. And this course, I'm gonna make it meditation heavy. So we're gonna do lots of meditation. And there'll be some talk. And I received this course. This is going to be like a sort of condensed version of the course I took, because we don't have the time to get the everything that I got. But we'll definitely get the essential. What you need, you will definitely get. I received this course from my holy Lama at her feet. Literally at her feet. She was on a small sort of confined space, and she was up on a couch type of affair, and I was on the floor. So I got a good view of her beautiful feet as she taught me this course personally. So, sorry. Anyway, extraordinary holy being. So it's one of my favorite courses. Yeah. And the meditations in here are very simple. They're very simple, and they're very powerful. And so I invite you to do them with great relish. And I know many of you have other practices, but I invite you to incorporate these meditations into your practice, and I'll talk a little bit later in the class about journaling them. That will be very helpful to journal them. So I think we should just start with the meditation, and then we'll do some talk about His Holiness the First Panchen Lama, who this course is based on. So those of you who are going to do this lying down, then get yourself ready to lie down. Those of you who are sitting up, get yourself ready to meditate. So closing your eyes or having them slightly open, whichever you prefer. And if they are slightly open, doing it in a way that you're actually not focusing on anything. You're just like letting the light in. I'm going to strike the bowl, and when you hear it, see if you can use that sound. Focus on that sound and listen to it until it's done. And see if you can use that as a way to get to a quiet place in your mind and a relaxed state of body. So relaxing your body, feel like you have a stable base of relaxation. If you're sitting, feeling a downward flow of energy from the waist down, relaxing you from the waist down. And then take an in-breath. Use that breath to draw your crown towards the sky. And then keep that sense of being lifted as you exhale and your shoulders relax. So you feel like you're almost like you're suspended effortlessly in midair by the openness of your heart and the lift of your crown. Relax your jaw. It's nice to place the tip of your tongue just at where your teeth meet, the back of your top teeth meet your gums. Helps relax your jaw. Put on an inner smile, which may turn into a small outward smile. And begin to feel the exquisite sensation of your body breathing. Don't try to extend the breath or shorten the breath or make any kind of adjustment of the breath whatsoever. Just experience that breath as your belly expands and contracts. The key to a good meditation practice is always going to be based on a foundation of relaxation. So right away when you start meditating, you want to be looking for any tension that you may have. That may be mental. It may be physical. It may be something mental that's causing your physical tension. So you're just taking some time to relax. And you will find over time, if you haven't noticed already, that tensions are largely based on mental events. And in order to maintain them, these mental tensions, you need to be thinking about something in the past or something in the future, generally speaking. Neither one of them exist the way that you think they exist from the standpoint of now. And so we use the body and the breath, focusing the mind and the body and the breath, pulls your mind into the present moment. Your body and your breath don't really have a choice in the matter. They're here and they're now. So it's worth it to spend a little time pulling your mind in. Now let's take the object of our meditation to a slightly more subtle object, drawing the energy upwards. Drawing your mind's focus upwards to the tip of your nose, and begin to watch the breath pass these points. Again, you're not controlling the breath, you're just noticing the breath. If you have already developed some stability in your meditation, this may be easy for you and you may not need to count. If you need extra help, like an assist, you can count the breath. And every day will probably be different until you reach a certain stable state. And how you count the breath is you exhale. At the end of your exhale, you punctuate it with the number 1. And you take your inhale, and at the end of your next exhale, you punctuate it with the number 2. So it's just 1, 2. It's not long and drawn out numbers. If your mind drifts off, you lose count or even forget that you're counting, just come back to 0. And remember, right at the beginning, we don't want to cultivate the things in our meditation that cause us all the problems in our world, and that is we do not want to be hard on ourselves, we don't want to be self-judgmental, we don't want to get some competition going within ourselves. So, if you notice you lose the object, you simply rejoice, be happy that you noticed, and then with ease and gentleness bring it back. You should be rejoicing, because when you notice and bring your mind back, that is the moment that you're training your mind to eventually be completely still. Continue to watch the breath. Now shift your focus to the person who is watching the breath. There is someone watching it flow out and back in. You could call that the watcher state of mind. It's an awareness directed at a specific object. So while you're focused on watching the breath, also be aware of who it is that is watching the breath. Staying with that, who it is that is watching the breath. Now let your mind focus on any sound you hear in the room or outside of the room. Then shift your focus again and focus on the listener watching yourself listen. Focusing on the listener watching yourself listen. This watcher state of mind is completely passive. It doesn't engage with its object at all. It just watches it. It just recognizes it. It just receives the information. It doesn't follow after the sound. It doesn't try to control the breath. It simply observes. Now pulling your mind more inward, begin to listen to your heartbeat, or at least try to feel your heartbeat. And now watch yourself watching or feeling your heartbeat. Keep your mind watching yourself feeling, watching yourself listening for your heartbeat. Watching yourself listening to the heartbeat. Watching yourself feeling the heartbeat. Who is this person who is feeling the heartbeat? Who is listening to the heartbeat? The watcher is watching that. The passive watcher. When I ring the bell or the bowl, Just follow the sound. And ride the sound back to the room, and just gently open your eyes when you're ready. Anyone have any comments on that just for now, or questions about that for the moment before we go on?
It was hard, John.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of you will find this easy. Some of you will find it difficult. Some of you will be in between. In order to do a kind of meditation like this, you may have to stay with the breath for a while longer. But it's really, really good to try. Because what's happening is you're making a brave attempt at trying to illuminate the part of your mind that is not being wrestled to the ground by the world. All right? There's a part of your mind that you can access and that you can live out during the day. But first you have to creep up to it, see it, and then be able to invite it in, right? So we'll do this again at the end of the class. And what you will do is you'll do this meditation for the whole week, each day. And hopefully by the time you're ready for next class, you will have had a little bit of groundbreaking on it. And maybe you'll only get one little glimpse of like, whoa, you know, who, what? Because if you're doing the meditation with enough kind of will, and you want it, eventually what will happen is if you're doing it right, it should get a little scary. It should kind of freak you out for a second, because all of a sudden you'll be like, well, who is listening? Who is this person that's listening? And who's listening to the listener? And who the heck is that person listening to the listener, to the listener, to the listener, to the listener? And what you're trying to find the nature of your mind, really. And this is what this whole course is about, is using the mind to look at the mind. Because most of the time, we don't even go there, right? We're just running around, and accomplishing our daily things without really giving it too much thought. Having emotional disturbances, having a wave come up through your mind that suddenly you're totally disturbed about something, and without really ever thinking about how the heck that goes down in your mind, but immediately associating that with an object on the outside, immediately putting a story onto something, and without stopping for a second, taking stock of what may be going on, and seeing how it's actually arising from your own mind. So it's relatively easy to use the mind, to look at the mind, because we're always with our mind. It's an object that we can't really lose, in a sense, because it's always there. It just takes a little bit of dancing around to be able to place your focus where it needs to be. And so this, we're using our mind to get to stillness, to a stillness that's actually already there. But we don't really know it because we're not experiencing it. We're just experiencing the up and down of the day, or even the up and down of the meditation, or the up and down of whatever it is that's going on. And the stillness is lost to us, even though it is actually at the base of all of your actions, really. You know, at the base of all of your emotional highs and lows is a stillness. Has to be, or you couldn't actually experience it. But we just, until we learn better, most of us are thrown into the wake of the upheaval and don't get a break from it, and then walk around in a sort of a confused state, and don't really give it too much thought, especially when things are good. You know, it's only when things are getting really schmucky when we're like, well, what's going on around here? But we're actually just as confused about the things that are apparently pleasant. We're just not motivated to do anything about it. So using the mind to get to the reality of the mind is very, it's very anchoring. And it's a practice that can anchor you into the world in a very healthy way. And ultimately, the reason that we do these meditations as we go along and get to the final, class 10, is to see ultimate reality. Really. That's what they're for. And this course, it's called Mahamudra. I called it Meditation the Next Level. And it's really about Mahamudra. And Mahamudra has many names. One of the names is called the Great Seal. We'll talk about it in some coming weeks, about all the names that it means. Mahamudra has many, many definitions. One of the main definitions of the Great Seal is ultimate reality, or seeing ultimate reality. Now, I'm sure there are quite a few people in this room who are thinking, what the heck does that mean exactly? Right? So I'm just going to give a little demonstration on what it is that we're trying to achieve. And I'm going to use an object. And that object is going to be this thing. Which could be many things. So why we're sitting in this course and why we're going to do these meditations is so that we can understand our reality. So first of all, what is this? What do you say?
Is it a potato?
It's a is it a potato? That's a very good. That's a very good guess. So you see a potato. Anybody in the back want to venture a guess as to what this is? Kiwi fruit. Kiwi fruit.
Well, I thought it was a rock.
You thought it was a rock. It's a good object. Well, it's a kiwi fruit, according to me, and according to probably some people in the very front. And David was eagle eyes in the back. He's like, it's a kiwi fruit. Okay. So, here we are looking at a potato, a rock, or a kiwi fruit. So, you saw potato when you looked at this thing. What do you see now? A kiwi fruit.
Yeah.
And do you also see a kiwi fruit?
Yeah, kiwi fruit.
Right. What happened? Did it change?
It just became more clear because
Yeah, how did that happen
I
exactly?
don't have my glasses on.
Okay. And how did it change from a rock to a kiwi for you?
I looked at it more closely and I
Right.
saw the indent at the top and I thought, oh,
Right. Ah, it's a
obviously
kiwi.
fruit.
Right. Okay. What about a cat? Change it up big time here. What if a cat walked up to this thing? What would it see? Who the heck knows, right? Cats are weird. A dog is like, yeah, it's a no-brainer, but what would a cat see, right?
Non-food.
Non-food,
Yeah.
right?
Something to sit on.
Something to sit on, possibly, right? Any other guesses to what a cat might see?
A toy.
A toy. A toy, yeah. Okay. How about it was sitting on the sidewalk or something, and an ant walked up to it. What would an ant see? A mountain, right? A mountain. What about someone who had never seen a kiwi fruit? I remember seeing one of these for the first time. I sure wasn't going to eat it. I was like, what is this thing? I don't want it. If you had never seen a kiwi fruit in your life, what would you think you'd see?
I thought it was a weird potato.
A weird potato, right? Okay, so so who's right about this object?
Everybody.
Everybody's right.
Oh, it's kiwi fruit.
It's a kiwi fruit. According to you, it's a kiwi fruit. Now. Right? So everybody's right. So if a cat wants to roll it around or play with it or smell it and decide it's non-food and turns its back on it and ignores it, then that's what it is for the cat. In the cat's perception, that's what it is, right? If you had never seen one of these before, you're gonna do something with your mind. You're gonna be throwing all kinds of things up there. It's a good exercise to catch your mind doing that, looking at things that you haven't seen before, and watch what your mind does. Your mind desperately needs to classify things. It'll just be trying to find something, and then when it does settle on something, then it's relaxed, right? It's happy. Oh yeah, that's a kiwi fruit, or that's a potato, whatever. But until then, it's right? So the thing is, though, if different beings and different people can see different things when they look at this object, then where's the kiwi fruit? If this was if this was giving off essence to kiwi, right? Then what? Right? Then what? Every being would just have to see kiwi, because it would be coming from this object at you, right? But that's not what's happening. It already happened just in this room. It was a potato and a stone, a weird potato and a stone, and it was like your mind is it's like putting something on to the object and labeling it. It's very tricky. It's a very slippery idea, and it is a completely life-altering idea if it's used in the right way. If you embrace it in the right way, and it's easy to do this with an inanimate object. It kind of can make sense. We're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I can get that. But then I must ask you this. Okay, first of all, if this object doesn't have essence of kiwi coming from it, so it is potentially could be a lot of things. It is full of potential. You could say this is potential for being many things. If that's true for this object, could it then be not true for any other object? Can you think of anything in your world that you're not throwing the meaning onto? I sure as heck can't. You can take any situation in your life, and no matter how hard you think about it and how many excuses you want to make for yourself, at the end of it, you're making the decision. No matter how intense it is or how sweet it is, seems to be, it's still you that's making the decision about the object. Why this is transformative, or can be transformative, if you can get your head around that rule must apply to all objects, then you can graduate up a step and start thinking about that in relation to people in your life. The people that we like to blame for our problems, or that we immediately assume things about them because of the way they're dressed, or the way they're speaking, or the way they look, or how they're not doing this for me. So we're trying to put a kind of a wedge in the system, so that we don't automatically assume that person that you were looking at in your life is the way that you think they are. There's probably some other thing going on right there, and why? For instance, a great example of that is the teacher. For instance, somebody who is a teacher. Now, let's just take, for example, me. Little old me. Right? I'm sure that everyone in this room has all kinds of ideas about me. You can't help it. You can't help it. Right? There are some people in this room who see me as some kind of holy teacher. There are some people in this room who see me as they just met me. They don't know me from anyone. what's that shirt he's wearing? That's kind of weird. Like, you know, maybe there's some people in this room who think I'm crazy. I'll walk out on the street. Anyone who looks at me is going to see a different person, right? So what is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, it's like 15 people in here. So there's 15 of me sitting here. 16 if you count me looking at me, right? So there's 16 of me here. No problem, right? And they all function perfectly for each person. So if a person has a certain kind of mind, and they've spent like maybe lifetimes doing certain kinds of things, like respecting their teachers, or taking care of others, helping others a lot, then, you know, we're kind of stretching a bit with some ideas, but if you haven't heard these ideas before. But there has to be a reason why you're forced to see things the way you do. One thing I forgot to leave out is this. I forgot to leave it out, which would mean I put it in there. Was this? So I left out was that once you see it as a kiwi, it's not a rock anymore, is it? Right? It's like you're forced into seeing kiwi. And if you see a beautiful person, you can't just all of a sudden ugly, right? You can't, right? We are forced into those situations. They say by our previous habits, however we've treated others in the past, sits in our mind and germinates like a seed and then flowers into the moment of whatever the moment is. And that is what is dictating our experience, which explains a lot of things. If you really think about it a lot, it explains a lot of things about a lot of confusing stuff that goes down. Like, for instance, why a song is so awesome the first 20 times. And then on the 21st time, you're like, I don't want to hear that ever again. Right? There's something that happens in us that changes how we perceive things. The song didn't change. They didn't go back to the studio and make it worse. Something happened inside your mind. So when I say seeing emptiness directly, when I say emptiness, the emptiness of this object, the emptiness of this kiwi fruit, is the fact that it is empty of being a kiwi fruit from its own side. It is empty of that. A confusing idea that people have about emptiness is that emptiness is something, is that it's like an essence or an invisible essence. It is not that. Very slippery idea. How do you see something that isn't there? Emptiness is just a lack of something. That's all it is. Very difficult to understand, but it's all it is. What we're doing here is step by step trying to get to a place where we see what isn't there directly. How do you do that? How do you actually see something that isn't there directly? Your brain should be doing a brake stand. Right? It's like it takes a lot of time on the cushion. It takes a lot of analyzing. You have to like go again and again and again and prove it to yourself again and again and again. It's like, well, why doesn't, I see him as a teacher. Why doesn't everyone see him as a teacher? When he walks into the safe why doesn't everybody just get down on their knees and offer him sunflowers? Why not? Because it's not me. It's you. It's you. If you see me as a holy teacher, then I bow to the virtue in your heart that forces you to see me as a holy teacher. I'm just... I could be saying anything. I could be talking about the recipe for raisin bran, and the person with the right virtue would be going, oh, holy words, right? Or I could be like quoting the highest scripture from the Lord Buddha, reciting the Heart Sutra, and someone could go, well, that's drivel. And it's not the words. It's not me, and it's not the words. Right? And that's your world. That's the world you're walking around in. And you can influence that. You can turn it into a beautiful paradise. But in order to do that, you have to get that very concept that because that's true, then you can change the way that you see yourself, and you can change the way that you see the world. Because if the opposite was true, if this was a kiwi from its own side, then the whole thing doesn't make any sense at all. The whole world is just one big frozen cookie cutter. It can't, like, nothing could happen. It would just be it's inconceivable. You couldn't even function as a world. So you have to get your mind still enough to start to pry away at your perceptions so that you can start to catch the fly swatter that's coming up, bang, and putting up the image, bang, bang, and a constant stream so fast that it looks like a seamless movie, when really it's just a sequence of moments, 65 moments per finger snap of mind that are actually making the seamless thing. Now, the beginning of this is to watch the watcher. So you can try and get a sniff of the stillness in your mind. Because who's projecting you? That's freaky, right? Who's projecting you? And that's where we need to go by class 10, right? So when I got this class, I didn't get that because I'd already gotten that on a number of occasions from my Holy Lama, Lama Yvonne, and many other teachers. So it didn't need to be said. But at the outset of this course, for the purpose of understanding when I say certain things like emptiness and what we're trying to achieve, we need to establish a baseline of what we're talking about. So before we go on, I'm going to just say some quick things about the person who we're basing this work on. We're using the work of an amazing being, and his name is Lobsang Chukyi Gyaltsen. Lobsang Chukyi Gyaltsen. And he, if you're studying Tibetan Buddhism, he's like a big hero. He's like one of the main characters in our history. And he lived from 1570 to 1662. And he was recognized as, when he came around and made it into the teachings, he was recognized as being the actual teacher of his teacher. And then, and then by who was already recognized as enlightened, had made enlightenment. So it's like, well, okay, Lobsang Chukyi Gyaltsen is actually an enlightened being, and he dances around and pretends to do all these things and go through all these things, but actually he's already reached total enlightenment. And total enlightenment it's like in order to become a totally enlightened being, you have to first of all see what is not in the kiwi in a very direct way. You have this divine experience through years of meditating and service and planting the right seeds in your mind. And then after you understand how, well, put it this way, in a nutshell, once you really understand that the world you're seeing and the people in your world that you're seeing, the way that you see them is being forced upon you by some things that you did before. When you see that truth directly, then your mind begins to change. Your mind has changed. And then all the things that you've done for lifetimes to cause unhappiness in yourself, those things run out of steam and they empty out from your mind, because you're now planting very, very powerful seeds to have ultimate happiness, ultimate compassion, ultimate love. And then so over a matter of time, you become this being of ultimate love. Which is what you all want. Or you wouldn't be here. There's something in your mind that understands. There's something in your mind that understands that nothing else will work. There's nothing short of that will make you satisfied. You know, you've come up against way too many unsatisfactions over and over, right? You have something for a while and it's like this awesome thing, and then all of a sudden it's like the schmucky thing. And what happened, right? Relationships, wow. And then all of a sudden it's like normal, or it breaks up, or like a constant stream of things that we strive for that we think are going to make us happy. We put all our energy into those things, and then in the end they always fail. So getting a good understanding of that, which inspires you then to figure out what was really going on, and then put in these certain practices, and then see reality for how it is, and then you behave differently in the world, because you're no longer actually blaming anyone else for your problems or your happiness. You set people free, really, is what you do. You set people free from the pressure of making you feel good, right? And then when they don't, like, they're like this problem, and then you can like stew away all day with your head going, yeah, if that person hadn't said that, boy, I'd be in a better mood today. And you just like you chew on it, right? It's like you got the munchies, right? So Labsen Gelsen had that figured out a long time ago. And so we can really trust anything that he writes. And he was big on doing retreat. We'll talk more about that in the future classes. But meditating enough, developing a state of mind that is in its own like a retreat state of mind. It's funny. We go into retreat for, like, first you go for 6 days, then you go for 10, then you go for 2 weeks, then you go for 30 days, then you go for 6 months. Like, you're building, and you go into these deep retreats to try to get to the base of your mind and clean it up. Clean up that mess, right? Clean it up. See your heart directly. See the love in your heart directly. So then you don't have to go on retreat. You go on retreat so you don't need a retreat. Because the world's not going anywhere. You're projecting it. So you go into retreat to project a different kind of a situation. Right? You're not going into retreat to get away from the world. You're going into retreat to be in the world without any unhappiness. Right? And in order to develop that kind of motivation, you have to slowly but surely, or quickly, depending on you how much you practice. You could do this quite quickly if you put all your heart and soul into it. until you're finished. Because if you go, when the world, most people know it, is kind of like a gross kind of perception of all this busyness and all this up and down and stuff. But when you go when you go into your mind, that's not happening. If you can go deep into your mind, you leave that place, and then you go to work. Right? Then you go to where you go to work on the place where all the stuff's coming from. And then if you pop out of your meditation and you still have a problem in the world, you're not quite done yet. You go back into meditation. Right? You go back into meditation and you do the work. You clear, you do the work, you do your who's the watching the watcher, who's watching the watcher, who's watching the watcher, until you finally you actually see it. And then one day you'll pop out of your meditation and you'll be done. You'll be like, the world is fine. Until, if you keep coming out of your meditation and the world is not fine yet, you're not quite done yet. You got to go back into meditation. Okay? That's not the whole story, but we'll talk about the whole story as we go along. So we're using it's funny, we're using an auto commentary by His Holiness Lobsang Chökyi Gyaltsen, because he wrote the root text called Mahamudra, root text, Highway of the Victors, which he knew no one could figure out, so he wrote his own auto commentary on it, right? Because the first one was all, poetry, like sublime poetry. He writes amazing poetry. So he wrote, in the commentary, he has the root text, kind of all the poems, and he comments on the poems. And he was, in the 1500s, people were dying at the age of 40. He lived to like 92. And they say that the older he got, the younger he looked. So he was doing some kind of amazing practices. One of the famous stories about him, well, there's so many of them, it's ridiculous. At the age of 5, he memorized the whole Diamond Cutter Sutra. At the age of 5, He wasn't like putting firecrackers up, things and blowing them up. He was like memorizing the Diamond Cutter Sutra because he thought it was fun, He had, when he was 14, he had like a very transformative experience, and he began his poetry. Where they say he met the Diamond Angel, they would say, which is like he met ultimate reality at 14, right? Or, right? We already said he was already enlightened. So he's just like doing this thing to show that it can be done. But he had this kind of power where it's a famous story. The Mongolians were attacking Tibet, which probably wasn't going so well for the Tibetans, I would imagine. But he walked like right out onto the battlefield, and he stopped the war. That takes a lot of wisdom. It takes a lot of belief in your power, right? And you can sort of extrapolate that down and think that even yourself, I'm sure you've been around these kinds of people, that even if you develop a kind of a mind that is at peace with itself, then you become, people just calm down when they're around you. Right? Like things are just a little bit better. Right? So he had that to such an extreme, the bloody war stopped. Right? That's how he calmed the whole situation down. Right? It didn't make sense to fight when he was there. Something like that. Yeah. So in the beginning of his auto commentary, he bows down to Mahamudra. And in the beginning of a Tibetan text, they always bow down to something, which means they bow down to a holy being, which usually means what the subject is going to be about in the book. Well, he bows down to Mahamudra in the beginning of his book. And then you might say, well, why is he bowing down to a practice? Isn't Mahamudra like a practice? Why is he bowing down to a practice in the front of his book? But there are many interpretations of the word Mahamudra, and one of them, Lord Buddha himself, said, if you want to find the Buddha, go looking in your own mind. Right? You don't need to find the Buddha any other place. You don't need to find an enlightened being any other place. And that's the Mahamudra he's bowing to. He's bowing to the Mahamudra that is the enlightened being, that is the Buddha in your own mind. That you must wake up. You must make it come to life. And it's not that you're already an enlightened being. Right? It's not that if you were already an enlightened being, you would know that you were already an enlightened being. You can't hide that from yourself. You can only deny that for so long. Okay, I'm enlightened. It doesn't work like that. You have the potential in your own mind to become totally enlightened because of what isn't in your mind. That is how. Because you are no different than this object in that however you project your perception of yourself now, be it a normal person or be it an enlightened being, that's a projection, right? So now we have to get far enough back as like the watcher to figure out how that could be possible. If you don't believe it's possible, then that is a major block for it to happen. You have to blow off the ceiling of the idea that thinks, are you crazy? I couldn't become an enlightened being. I'm a human. I have a job. That's gotta get, you gotta put dynamite. You gotta like give that the nuclear bomb. Right? And that is understanding that you are just as empty of being who you think you are as anything else. So that's what we're doing here, okay? So now let's go back and do that same meditation. Having said all that, so start to settle. You let the words that just flew around just settle. It's okay that you're empty. In fact, it's very good news. So once again, I will bring the bowl. Just use that. So jump on that sound and focus on it. Follow it to its completion. Try and use that sound to relax. So this time we'll go a little quicker into the main meditation. What we'll do is we'll just begin watching the breath at the nostrils. Place all your mind's focus, as much focus as you can bring to bear, on the 2 points of your nostrils. And just be a witness to the breath passing there. Not adjusting the breath at all. Just watching. If you need to count for a while, then count. Traditionally, if you reach the number 10 without being distracted, you begin back at 1 again. Very relaxed. Just have some kind of a tickle of some kind of joy. These kinds of meditations, if you do them, can change everything. Can make your whole world actually make some sense to you, and then you can put certain things in place so that you can be living the world that you want yourself and others to see. So have joy as you meditate, simply practicing to calm the mind. And we begin just by watching the natural breath. Just watching. then try to make that shift now. To watch yourself, watch the breath. So the trick here is not, at this point, is to not stay where you're parked at the tip of the nose and be really engaged with the breath. To make that switch, you can think of sinking back. A nice analogy is as if you sat back into the back seat of the car and there's someone else driving the car. You're just watching. And if you can just get that little flip into being in the back seat of the car, it can flip you into a deeper state of meditation. This type of thing will be easier for people that have a more yin energy, more of a sort of inward passive type of energy. It's harder for people that have a more outward yang type of energy, because that person generally likes to feel like they've got some kind of control over what's going on. It's harder for them to let go, usually. But ultimately we want a balance. So there is somebody watching the breath. Maybe you could think of them as the driver of the car. And then you take one step back and you watch the watcher who is watching the breath. And now shift to sounds. Focus your mind to any sound that you hear in the room. This will feel different, probably. As you first engage by listening and then drop back, sink back into the back seat, as you try to watch the listener listening. We're trying to give birth to this ability to just watch and not be engaged and pulled by everything and put stories on everything, just letting them arise, letting them come, letting them go. And we build this skill by putting in time doing these kinds of things where we watch the listener who is listening. And then sharpening the focus somewhat by pulling yourself more inward, by now listening to or feeling your heartbeat. Could be more challenging. Suddenly the object is a little closer to home. And yet even still, you can sit back, you can move back, and then get a glimpse. See if you can watch the person who is feeling the heartbeat or listening to the heartbeat. Be the observant witness to yourself, feeling your heartbeat. Somewhere there's a space of mind that can just observe. And to get there, often in the beginning, it must be a sensation of dropping back. Because in the beginning of these practices, we will notice mostly that we're very forward. In our focus. Very engaged with our objects without this neutrality, and so influenced by them in ways that get us into trouble. Can you access that place that is not making up a story, simply watching you watch your heartbeat, watching you feel your heartbeat? And then following the sound back to the room, following the bowl, sound of the bowl. So that's just about a wrap. I just wanted to say a couple things. Very good to journal the meditations, and you can you can hand them in, even better. And I'll check them out, I'll look at them, and maybe if you'd like some advice or anything like that. But what's nice is you would write down the time of day that you meditated, the duration of time that you meditated, what the focus was. In this case, it would just be like watching the watcher or something, watching the breath, watching the watcher. Then you can write down what percentage of the time you thought you were actually on the object. That might be a difficult number to come up with, but a guess. And then any like realizations that you may have, any things that pops up and you go, oh, right? You write those down. And what's also handy is if you write down what you ate that day. Yeah, because if you keep track, you'll start to notice certain patterns. You'll be like, well, maybe I shouldn't eat that big lasagna. Yeah, you'll notice the days that you eat certain ways, you had a very clear mind, and other days you'll notice you had a very muddled mind. And it's very good to keep track of that so that no one has to tell you to eat better. It's just your mind shows you, right? So that's a great practice. It's a wonderful practice to write it down. And if you're so, yes.
Would you be able to send us a little email, like just in point form, what to do? Because I'm going to.
Of the meditation?
Stuff. Yeah, like
yep.
Just and to watch what we eat and to write it, like just what you just said.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You know what? Oh, yeah, okay. I was going to write, should I write an email address down here? Or what? Or Christine?
Collect everyone's email and then send out what we've got.
Yeah.
Lorianne also has that meditation chart.
Yeah, okay, that's what we'll do. So we'll write your email address down, give it back to Christine, and we'll make sure that you get what you just asked for, and also we'll get you a written copy of the actual meditation so that you can look at that and run that.
And an MP3 of it.
And an MP3 of it. Great. And what you want to do is you want to like get off that though. Maybe use like the first 2 days or so, use the audio or use the words, but then eventually lift off, right? Because you want to do the meditation on your own. If you're reading it, someone's kind of doing it for you, or if you listen to the MP3, you're not really doing the meditation. Like the person on the audio is doing it for you, which would be me. You want to be independent and be able to explore your inner world on your own. Yeah. So you can find what's there. Because it will be different. Everyone has a different mind. Everyone has a different subtle body. That's why it's good to have like a teacher to help you through that. So that's good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming. Hope you enjoy the meditations for this week, and we'll add